Good afternoon. Vice President-elect, First Lady, Director of Visitor of Indiana, Lieutenant Governor, Senator Merritt, that is me, Chief Justice Jim Corden, and that is our dais here. I'd like you all to stand for the colors. Well done. As I said, my name is Jim Merritt. I'm your state senator representing Indianapolis, and we have some guests that it bears repeating. The First Lady of the state of Indiana, along with the Vice President-elect of America, the Director of Visit Indiana, Mark Newman, Jim and Alan with the Constitutions, and I see Sue Glick and many other legislators here. And if the Bicentennial Commission would stand and say, wave and say hello to everybody, we'd appreciate it. You just saw the Military Department of Indiana Ceremonial Unit Guard, Color Guard, the White River Guard, Belle of the Bows, Plainfield, Indiana, High School bagpiper Doug Hardwick, who has been terrific through the years. And the fourth grade schools in attendance today are St. John Lutheran from Indianapolis, Mintawney from Lafayette, Clinton Central, Michigantown, St. Charles Borromeo, close, Our Lady of Greenwood, Our Lady of Mount Carmel, Brooklyn Elementary from Mooresville, Park Tudor from Indianapolis, Our Lady of Grace from Noblesville, and Jillian Stemler from New Albany. We are here because, for you all, this is for you. This is a birthday party for the 200-year birthday for the state of Indiana that we have been working on for the last 5 years. And I want to introduce Jim Corden, who is our state archivist, along with Alan January, to talk about the Constitution. Mr. Corden.
Thank you, Senator Merritt. My name is Jim Corden, and I am joined by Alan January, who's out in the audience. Alan. Dr. January is currently carrying the original 1816 Constitution. He's going to walk up and down the aisle here and show all of you. This small book is handwritten and was written in the summer of 1816 down in Corydon, Indiana, in the southeast part of the state. If you were visiting Corydon back then, you would have found 43 men debating the merits of constitutional government and how Indiana should be structured. When the delegates first met on June 10th, one of the first orders of business was to determine, should Indiana become a state? Now today we all assume that everyone voted yes. But in reality, 8 delegates voted against it. And you know why? Because they were concerned about taxation. Once Indiana became a state, then the federal government would no longer pay for the government, but the people of Indiana would. Nonetheless, it passes, and within 20 days, that document that Dr. January was holding was adopted by the delegates in Corydon. The 1816 Indiana Constitution embraces many of the concepts we have in place today, including the establishments of the 3 branches, all of whom are represented here on the stage, with the governor, Senator Merritt representing the legislature, and Chief Justice Rush representing the Supreme Court and the judiciary. So maybe one of the most important notions of the state was the state being responsible for education. In that Constitution, it said, a general system of education ascending in regular grade from township schools to a state university where tuition shall be gratis or free and open to all. Indiana was the very first state in the United States to provide education to all of its people, no matter what. The summer of 1816 was actually very cold, and in fact, that year was known as the year without a summer. Corydon was a small town, and only half the delegates could stay there. The other half stayed near New Albany. Before and after the daily meetings, many of the delegates would gather outside under the shade of a giant elm tree known as the Constitutional Elm. Unfortunately, in 1925, that elm tree died in Corydon, but thanks to the efforts of the Indiana Bar Foundation and Senator Merritt, who's with us, some of that tree's wood was used to make a display case, which is right behind us in the rotunda, and that Constitutional Elm display case holds the constitutions when the legislature is in session. The 1816 Constitution was finished on June 29th, but statehood would wait until, and I know you know this, December 11th, right, 2 days from today, in 1816. On that day, after the House and the Senate in Washington, D.C. approved a resolution, President James Madison signed the resolution, and Indiana would become the 19th state of the Union. Now, Alan has switched documents, and Alan, if you would proceed, please. This is the 1851 Constitution. By 1850, Hoosiers were unhappy with the old Constitution, and the broad powers given to the General Assembly, or legislature, had led in 1836 to a costly network of canals. So it used to be that transportation was done by the rivers and the canals. Well, those canals plunged the state into debt and ultimately bankruptcy. Legislative sessions were cluttered with special legislation that took up more and more of the General Assembly's time. And ultimately, in 1850, a new constitution was authorized. The group met in Indianapolis, and it took 4 months to write that constitution. It was ratified on August 4th of 1851. Physically, the 1851 Constitution is different in that it is handwritten on parchment paper and the original Constitution was written on paper. However, its content relies heavily on the 1816 Constitution. There are still the three branches of government: the executive branch, the judiciary, and the legislative branch. But there includes a long list of laws the General Assembly could no longer pass. The state was prohibited from going into debt. More public offices were elected. Voting rights were extended to non-citizens, but not to women or African American residents. The 1851 Constitution again authorized a general system of education without charge and open to all. And it became the state's duty for the first time to provide education to the deaf, the blind, and for the treatment of the mentally ill, and for the care of counties for the aged and the poor. Looking back later, one of the delegates expressed that the belief that the 1850 Constitution would stand up secure against the vicissitude of time, and he was right. Although frequently amended, the Constitution in Dr. January's hands is still the foundation of Indiana's government today as we celebrate the 200th birthday of our state. I hope you will join us at the conclusion of the ceremony when the constitutions will be put on display in the Capitol Rotunda right behind me and remain there until the legislature has concluded their work this spring. You're also all invited to watch and see up close as the constitutions are put in the case. And I should mention that this month, there is a special exhibit in the Rotunda about Indiana's early history, which has been put together by the State Museum and the State Archives and also includes the state's very first state flag. So with that, enjoy the bicentennial.
Well, I have known the governor / the vice president-elect for 39 years, and he had coal black hair then. Not that he's an old man, I'm not old, I'm 57 years old, and so is he, so he's going to be going off to Washington to represent Indiana just like he has in his whole adult lifehood. But thank you very much. He is the pride of Indiana. He works so hard for you all, and it is such a pleasure and a privilege to introduce you Vice President-elect and Governor Michael R. Pence.
Thank you, Senator Merritt. Thank you for that warm introduction, my friend of so many years, and someone who 20 years ago first had the idea of celebrating Statehood Day here at the State House. Would you join me in thanking Senator Jim Merritt for loving the history of this state so much? I'm honored to be joined by all who are with us today, to our Governor-elect, to our Chief Justice Loretta Rush, to our Treasurer Mitchell, to Superintendent Ritz, who is with us today in this great educational setting, isn't it? It's just perfect with all these wonderful children. And to our former Lieutenant Governor Becky Skillman and Lee Hamilton and all the members of the Bicentennial Commission, I thank you for this fitting celebration of 200 years of Indiana history. To all the kids who are here, I am the 50th governor of the state of Indiana, and I'll share with you a few thoughts about the first governor of Indiana. But as Senator Merritt said, I'm going to have a new job before too long. And I'm very humbled to think that in just a few short weeks, with my little family at my side, I will raise my right hand and accept the duties of the Vice President of the United States. But let me say, my favorite title will always be husband, father, and Hoosier, and that will never change. And to all the children who are gathered here today, I will tell you, like Senator Merritt, I love history. I love to look back. I love to learn from the courageous people who have gone before. And I am so excited to declare this weekend, culminating on the very anniversary this Sunday of Indiana statehood, that this is Indiana's 200th year. Our bicentennial celebration is underway. There's one other person I want to mention. As she prepared to come here this morning, she told me this may be, this weekend, her last public duties as First Lady of Indiana. She will soon be the Second Lady of the United States of America. But as you can see, all the way down to her dress today, and all you kids saw as you learned a little bit about our pets at the governor's residence today, she has been a devoted First Lady over the last 4 years. She is the ambassador to the Bicentennial Commission. She happens to be the love of my life. Would you kids mind giving a standing ovation to the First Lady of Indiana? All that she's done, my wonderful wife, Karen Pence. Let me hear it at least once from you kids on three. I want to hear a great big happy birthday, Indiana. 1, 2, 3. Isn't that good? It's amazing to think about it. Amazing to think about it. It was 2 centuries ago this Sunday, December 11th, 1816, that Indiana was admitted to the Union as our 19th state. An act signed at the time by President James Madison allowed the Indiana Territory to become a state, quote, on an equal footing with the original states. We started out on an equal footing, but it changed really quick because Hoosiers started to grow, and Indiana started to take our rightful place. It's not just a leading state in the Midwest, but one of the most innovative, dynamic places to live, to work, to raise a family, to build a business, and to retire. And it continues to be that to this very day. We've celebrated this bicentennial now. It's been 200 years in the making, but 5 years of preparation, and it's been so exciting to see it happen. The bicentennial torch relay hit every one of our 92 counties with this fabulous high-tech torch that was designed and constructed by engineers at Purdue University, and it helped to commemorate more than 1,600 bicentennial legacy projects that will be a lasting contribution to the quality of life of the state. Could we thank all those who worked on our legacy projects and all of our torch bearers who helped us celebrate this statewide commemoration? But Indiana's history has been long and storied. It goes back to that very first governor, Jonathan Jennings. I've had a portrait of him in my office. He was a very young man when he became governor of the state of Indiana. He was a driving force behind the statehood. He would go on actually to represent Indiana in the Congress of the United States, but he was a great champion. He was called a young Hercules in his time, and the motto of his effort to create a state in Indiana was, quote, "No slavery in Indiana." And by his leadership and by the leadership of those 43 founders who crafted that Constitution and court in Indiana 200 years ago, Indiana became the first state in America to ban slavery in our state's Constitution. It's a source of great pride for our state. Early Hoosiers lit a beacon of freedom. In fact, when our state flag would be designed some 100 years later, that beacon was captured in that torch that's at the center of our flag to this day. Indiana was known then and continues to be known as a beacon of freedom and enlightenment and progress in the heart of the heartland. But it all began back then. It all began with our founders. Our state charter also, as our state archivist just mentioned, was was among the very first states to make a commitment to universal public education. And it is a commitment that Indiana continues to live out every day, and so we ever shall. My favorite story about Indiana's founding was that Abraham Lincoln, when he was about your age, actually came across the river from Kentucky on a barge with his family and moved to a little farm that he and his father cleared and would farm in Spencer County, Indiana. Abraham Lincoln's father moved to the state of Indiana, and President Lincoln would say for the rest of his life of Indiana, quote, "There I grew up." And you can go over to the Indiana State Museum and see extraordinary artifacts of his youth in the state of Indiana. He referred to Indiana in writings as a, quote, "wild region." President Lincoln said this. It was a wild region with many bears and wild animals in the woods. But they tamed it. The Lincoln family tamed it. And other families would come after them and build an extraordinary state. What began as a state along the great rivers that pass through the heartland of this country would become an industrial powerhouse. Indiana, I'm proud to say, in the course of the Civil War, fielded one of the largest contingents of the Union Army that would hold together the Union and end the scourge of slavery. Indiana had a golden age at the end of the 1800s. Where industry and creativity and the arts and literature were really centered here in the state of Indiana. Indiana's contributions to the life of the nation are perhaps most notable in the men and women who have served in uniform. Could you maybe give a round of applause to all of the veterans who are with us today and all of those who serve in active duty? Indiana is home today to more than 500,000 men and women who've worn the uniform of the United States. And as evidence of that, our state is also home to more war memorials than any area of the country except Washington, D.C. And it's because Hoosiers honor those who serve in uniform, and the contributions that Hoosiers have made to our armed forces continues to this very day. We've also been a place of great industry. People like Colonel Eli Lilly and Madam C.J. Walker, the better part of a century ago, would build great businesses that continue to thrive across the country today. But we've also been a place that's looked to the skies and looked to the stars. You may not have known this, but when you go back to school, you can maybe do a research project on it. But here in the state of Indiana, Wilbur Wright was born, of the Wright brothers, who invented the first airplane, right over in Henry County, Indiana. They started up there and had a little bicycle shop over in Ohio, and they'd go on to build the first working airplane and start the mankind's flight into the skies. Amelia Earhart, famous woman pilot, was actually a teacher at Purdue University. You didn't know that, did you? Gus Grissom, one of the original astronauts, and our hearts are heavy today because John Glenn, one of the original Mercury 7 astronauts, passed away yesterday. Well, Gus Grissom was born in Mitchell, Indiana, and distinguished himself as one of the courageous pioneers of space. And even Neil Armstrong, the first man on the moon, was a graduate of Purdue University. Indiana has always looked to the heavens, and we will always lead the way to the stars from here in the Hoosier State. But Mrs. Pence told me not to go on too long, and that's always a good reminder to her husband. So let me just close in celebrating this bicentennial to say that I'm delighted to be here with so many distinguished Hoosiers who've made such incredible contributions to the life of the state today. But I'm mostly delighted to be with all of you, because this generation of Hoosiers has brought Indiana thus far, and we will, in whatever time that we are given left, do our best to continue to see Indiana prosper and grow as that heart of the heartland and crossroads of America. But make no mistake about it, the next celebration belongs to you. And my word to you as your governor is whatever dream is in your heart, reach for it. It's what Hoosiers have always done. The reason our state has made such incredible progress from those early days, even before our state, when the early pioneers carved out that home in the woods that the Lincolns carved, into this extraordinary state that reaches to the world, that makes things and grows things and has such an incredible reputation across the nation, across the planet, is because Hoosiers reach for their dreams. And we want you to do that too. So study hard, pray hard, believe in yourself, and listen to the people that believe in you, because the future of Indiana and our next great milestone belongs to you. So thank you, and God bless you. And God bless the great state of Indiana.
I just want to amplify on Karen Pence as our First Lady. We have been working on the bicentennial celebration that is culminating in this weekend for 5 years. And that was even before Governor Pence and the First Lady were in office. And she has been our ambassador. And as we all know, the leaders of organizations, and obviously we have Representative Hamilton and Lieutenant Governor Skillman with us today, but she has been in every 4 corners of our state, from New Albany to South Bend, and every which way in between. And I think that she needs another round of applause for all the work that she has done. Now, you all know when you go to big dances and you get an MC, the MC gets a little license to talk a little bit, but President Harrison, you're here, and I am so glad you're here. Benjamin Harrison is here. Let's give him an applause. The only president from Indiana, but there's always hope. Just think about that. I went to college. I was in college. I was at Indiana University. He was at Hanover. And I've never met a president. So I may need to go to Washington and see you when you're president. And anyway, we certainly hope that is in the offing for you, Vice President-elect Governor Pence. We talked about the 3 branches of state government. We have the administrative, we have judiciary, and then we have the administrative that was upstairs. And this is a good learning moment for you all. Well, now we have a female Chief Justice, and her name is Loretta Rush. And she is a close friend of mine, and she bleeds Indiana blue. And she, for Mintani, where are you, Mintani? Well, I can't hear ya! She is from Lafayette. And I'd like to introduce to you Chief Justice Loretta Rush.
Thank you. What do I wear a lot of times as a judge? Anybody know? What? Oh, right. I asked Miss Royer from Intani to wear my robe for me so I wouldn't have to. Could you stand up, Sarah? Or could you, Miss Royer, while I talk? So I represent the 3rd branch of government, and that Constitution that they handed out, I take an oath, along with all judges, to follow the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Indiana. When I became Chief Justice, Vice President-elect Pence gave me that oath. When he became governor, he took the oath. Senator Merritt took the oath. So we really like oaths in the judiciary because we're always looking for the truth. And in the Constitution, we work daily to protect the rights and liberties that are in there. So the one thing I want you to know, 4th graders, is everybody in this building cares about you. We care about your future. We talk about you. Indiana was the 2nd state in the country to have a juvenile court or a kids court, and we're just as committed, if not more, to your future and welfare then. So I've got 2 favors, and I'm very quick to ask you. Vice President-elect Governor Pence will be leaving us and going to Washington. Can we give him a gift? Do you think we can? Yes, we can. All right, so I'm going to give you an oath. Could you all raise your right hand? And that's a hand on that side, just for time, save time. Okay, and I want to ask you to repeat after me. I promise Vice President-elect Governor Pence that I will graduate from high school. You got it. And thank you, teachers. You are the backbone, and you are just boots on the ground working for these kids. I have one more promise. Senator Merritt, who helped set up this fabulous Statehood Day, can we give him a gift? Okay. All right, raise your right hand again. It's that way. Still. I promise, Senator Merritt, that I will never do drugs. Thank you.
She just made my day. And I will keep your promise, every one of you. If somebody offers you something or there's something that is strange, just say no. Right. Okay. Now, the Vice President-elect Governor Mike R. Pence, that's a long sentence. I was telling him that we started this 20 years ago, and we were in here right in front of the display case, and it was a snowstorm, and it was at the time the First Lady, Judy O'Bannon, and myself, and Justice Dixon, and 11 kids, and not a photographer in the place. And I need a photographer. You know, we all need photographers. And it was a very special day, but I can't tell you how special this is today because, you know, Indiana, we're a very, very special place. And we're going to be around for 200 more years. And it's a point of pride for me that I am here to share it with you. Now, we all know about the essay contest. And some of the essays that you sent in were very, very special. And we were only be able to choose one. But let me give you a little description. Fourth graders have been asked to think about how they have celebrated the bicentennial, how it's changed them, and what is next for Indiana in an essay entitled, Who's Your Bicentennial and Beyond? I will tell you, Perry Hammock is here as executive director of our commission, and he has been all around the state, and he is so impressed with all of you and everything that you have a pride and a love of Indiana and the legacy projects where people do in their communities, where they celebrate things that are going on in their communities. It has been astoundingly a success. And we couldn't have predicted that 5 years ago, and I'm sure you all played a role in that. Well, we have a winner. And my mom grew up in New Albany, so this is very, very special to me. I'd like to introduce you the essay winner, Jillian Stemler, Eastridge Academy, New Albany, Indiana. Please come forward, Jillian. Oh, there she is. Now, Jillian is going to read her resume because she's going to be very famous someday. She's going to read her essay. Have at it, Jillian.
Bicentennial Travels. My family and I traveled to places this year in Indiana to celebrate its 200th birthday. Each place told us about Indiana's history. I learned that Indiana is not just a state, but a place that has been important for many people. At Falls of the Ohio State Park, I learned about things and people that lived in this area many years before Indiana was a state. We found fossils with shells, plants, and maybe even some animals printed onto them. When we went inside the museum, we also saw arrows, bows, and spears from the native people who were here before America was discovered by Europeans. While we were at Prophetstown State Park, I learned about the Battle of Tippecanoe. I will always remember when we went to the Tippecanoe battlefield and monument. There we learned about people who died in the battle from Tecumseh's and William Henry Harrison's armies, who bravely and confidently fought for the land. Seeing these things made me feel grateful to live where I am right now, because if I was around when the war was happening, it would have been frightening and depressing. At the State House in Indianapolis, I learned about Indiana's law system and important people like Jonathan Jennings, who was the first governor. I saw that parts of the State House are made of Indiana limestone. Inside the building, there was a floor with fossils in it, a stained glass roof, and a library floor made of glass. These things were unique and enjoyable to me. I was also interested to watch our representatives voting in Indiana's House of Representatives. It was fun to celebrate Indiana's birthday by traveling. In the future, there might be a new state park to explore, or maybe Indiana's first female governor, me.
Now, that was very well done. I wish I was that good. The governor will give her an essay certificate. The First Lady will place a medallion on her, and I'll give her a flag, and the State Treasurer will give her a letter and a $200 savings account, and then we will proceed. There we go. There you go, and the certificate.
Set that right over there.
All right. That is something that she will never forget, and safe travels back to Naubany, right? Naubany. I have the honor of introducing the First Lady. And for all of you that want to find a future Vice President of the United States, you need to go skating at the fairgrounds, okay? Because that was where the First Lady and Mike Pence, Vice President-elect Governor Pence, had their first date. So if you want to find a future vice president, go skating at the state fair. You got it? All right. Now a little life out there. Okay. You know, obviously, we all know Karen Pence and love her. Everything that she's done for the state of Indiana for the last 4 years has been outstanding, and I'm sure she wakes up in the morning thinking what she can do to brighten the world in the state of Indiana, and soon the world itself. And I am so proud of her because she represents our state all around the world, and with a smile and with the encyclopedia of what is going on in all 92 counties. And that's really what we want from our leaders, to understand what we are going through out there and how we do it. And as the governor says, we make and we grow. It is a pleasure and a privilege to introduce to you the First Lady of the state of Indiana, Karen Pence.
Well, it really is a privilege to be here today. I've already met all of these great students, and they did a wonderful job going around to all the different places on their passport tour. And we had a lot of fun sharing about the First Family and the First Family's pets of Indiana. And we had a lot of fun. This is honestly one of the most amazing groups of students that we've had. We all have been commenting. And I just want to thank the teachers, because seriously, I've been doing this for 4 years, and this group of children, and I don't know if it's because it's the bicentennial and maybe you've really listened extra carefully to your teachers this year, but you really seem to know a lot of what was going on when we asked you questions, and it was really a privilege. This is so much fun for me today, this whole weekend, because the first thing I was asked to do, and my first chief of staff is here, Brenda Vincent, the first thing she asked me to do, she said, you know what? The Bicentennial Commission would like you to be the ambassador for the bicentennial. That was the very first thing I did as First Lady, and now the celebration is my very last thing. So we've come full circle, and it's been a lot of fun. So our birthday is here. You know how you wait for your birthday yourself? Well, Indiana has been waiting very expectantly for her birthday, which is this weekend. What an honor it has been to travel, as Senator Merritt was saying, all over the state of Indiana, to all the corners, from Elkhart County, viewing the beautiful quilt gardens, to Lawrence County, choosing the bicentennial coffee brew at Cutter's Cafe. I mean, how many people get to choose the bicentennial coffee? Hoosiers have come together all over our state, creating over 1,500 legacy projects. And when we started this whole thing, we thought, wouldn't it be great to have 200 projects? I mean, that would just be, we would be over the moon. And yet now we have over 1,500 legacy projects. Sharing generously their time, talents, and treasures, uniting our history and our future. We're not only celebrating 200 years of our rich Indiana past, but we are celebrating the future, filled with an amazing journey that all of you children will ignite. As your First Lady and official bicentennial ambassador, I've been privileged not just to get to meet so many dedicated Hoosiers, but to get to know their hearts. And we are blessed to be Hoosiers and to be able to witness this amazing celebration. I hope you take a little snapshot today and store it in your brain, because this is an amazing day. We talked about it with each group about how special it is that you are having Statehood Day on our bicentennial year. Our bicentennial celebration has also been made possible due to dedicated leadership. We are so very thankful for these leaders. Our executive director of our Indiana Bicentennial Commission, Perry Hammock, and his team have led this path along with Lee Hamilton and Becky Skillman. What amazing gifted servants we have been blessed with to guide us here today. Also, let me help thank the wonderful Bicentennial Commission members, all who have given so generously of their time, creating the platform and the path, ensuring all Hoosiers have an opportunity to contribute to this once-in-a-lifetime celebration. Thank you. You know, sometimes you come to a celebration and it's a lot of fun and things go smoothly and you go away feeling great. We know that's going to happen this weekend, but you have to know that these people have all been meeting for 5 years. Think about that. You guys were in kindergarten then, okay? No, you weren't even in kindergarten yet. When they started planning this day for you, they've had lots of meetings, they've raised money for things, we have a book, we have a medallion, a medal, we have a stamp, a torch. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And if you want to see some of the amazing things we've been doing, go to indiana2016.org, and you can see all of the legacy projects and all of the things going on all around the state. But there's more. So I have the privilege right now to introduce Mark Newman, who is the Executive Director at the Indiana Office of Tourism Development. Mark and his team spearheaded the 3,200-mile journey through all 92 counties with our beautiful bicentennial torch that was created at Purdue University. Mark and his team also worked tirelessly, assuring Indiana Hoosiers that every county would have people involved in carrying the torch. It's something that traveled the entire state and lots of different Hoosiers were involved in. So now I'm going to turn it over to Mark Newman.
I must tell you that it is a great privilege to be standing up here, to be standing before these incredible smiling faces, and to share the stage with the Vice President-elect of the United States and First Lady Mrs. Pence. It's an absolute honor for me and our other honored guests to be able to spend time with you as well. This torch relay, it was absolutely a team effort. There was a team of dedicated Hoosiers who spent over 3.5 years building the plan and developing the concept of the torch relay so it could be introduced to our state and be something that all 6.5 million of our residents could take pride in. And I remember standing here a year ago when we introduced this fabulous instrument, this bicentennial torch, that really encapsulates the innovative capacity of this state. And then to usher in the bicentennial year. Well, a lot has happened since that day. And in fact, it was exactly 4 months ago on this day that the bicentennial torch relay kicked off, that it began in Corydon. And then 37 days and through 92 counties, 3,226 miles, 260 cities and towns, 2,243 torchbearers, and many, many unforgettable memories took place. My memories from the relay are of the places that the torch visited. The torchbearers' faces beaming with joy. The people lining the streets cheering. And our cities and towns dressed in gold and blue. The sounds of Back Home Again in Indiana and On the Banks of the Wabash played on and on. It was just an absolute incredible experience to behold. But more than anything, the memories that I have are actually the feelings that I felt during those 37 days and that I still feel. And I don't think that I'm alone. There is an afterglow that has remained and that will be ever present in this state, in part because of the bicentennial torch relay. I believe that the collective psyche of our state is different today than it was before the bicentennial torch relay. I think we're better. I think we're bolder. And I think we're more proud to be Hoosiers, if that's even possible. But don't take my word for it. What I'd like you to do is to see for yourself and join me in watching a 3-minute video that we've prepared that just tells you in the briefest, most compelling way the bicentennial torch relay. Hoosiers from every walk of life and all 4 corners of our great state have embraced the important symbolism represented by the Indiana Bicentennial Torch Relay. What it means to strengthening bonds among communities and across generations.
We are like that torch. We're built on sturdy, solid, caring, ambitious people.
We have so much to celebrate in Indiana. We have so much to be excited about. And this is just the beginning.
just a wonderful way and opportunity for Hoosiers from counties both large and small to showcase all that makes our hometowns, each and every one of them, so special and what makes Indiana at large so unique.
This is a time when people seem to be at each other, divided, polarized, as they say. And any event like this relay that emphasizes what we have in common and tries to bring people together, maybe set aside for a little bit our disagreements, has a lot going for it.
It's a way to connect all the communities of the state because it doesn't just go through one county, it goes through all 92. And you've got, the manufacturing places and the agricultural places, and it's just a way for everybody to be connected and involved.
And as we go the 3,200 miles carrying this torch, we're going to see a good definition of what a Hoosier is. People that are hardworking, determined, well-meaning, and faithful. That's what a Hoosier was 200 years ago, and that's what a Hoosier is today.
Before we finish the program, a couple things. First of all, Representative Bacon here is, Representative McNamara is here, Representative Brown is here, and Senator Bray was going to be here somewhere, but I think it's important that you know that legislators care about this. And just to the adults here and the folks that work in the office building and the media, it is so very important to understand what that torch relay did for the state of Indiana. It brought us together. We have so many things that are we can cheer about, that we can celebrate in our Indiana, and I'm sure the Pences have seen it all. But this is a state that is friendly. This is a state that's hospitality oriented. And I am so very, very proud of this state. And I'm sure the Pences will take that to Washington, because some other states ought to have what we do. And that is a goodness about them. And it's something that we all ought to be proud of. We're going to install the documents, the constitutions, and maybe some of you now know that we have 2 constitutions in our state. Long, long time ago, probably 25, 26 years ago, I went off to Washington on a trip about our legislator and understand what other legislators do. And I wandered into the Charters of Freedom. And that's where the copy of the Magna Carta, which is an English document, and the Declaration of Independence, and the Constitution of the United States. And so I came back and I said, well, where's our Constitution? And they said, which one? I go, we've had 2? So we now know we've had 2 constitutions in our lifetime as a state. It's something very, very proud of. And those constitutions that Jim and Alan have, and the reason why they have gloves on is because they are very, very brittle. They're very old, but it is the foundation of everything we do in our state. They are to be well kept. And when we're gone, and you're celebrating the 250th birthday of the state of Indiana, I hope that you take as good a care of those documents, because that is what we have. That is what we build on in our state. That is the foundation of all our laws. One of my favorite parts of the whole day, other than seeing you guys, because this is all for you, you get off school, don't you? Probably a lot of credit, extra credit. You get an A for today, right? Is introducing the Belle of the Bow and how they sing Back Home in Indiana. Have at it. Back home in Indiana. Now, do all of our students know the words to Happy Birthday? Well, let's stand up and let's give it a rendition for the Happy Birthday to the state of Indiana, our 200th birthday. You all ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Indiana. Happy birthday to you. Okay, let's stay standing for the retiring of our colors. Isn't that cool? That's really cool, isn't it? I love that. Thank you very much. We're dismissed. Merry Christmas to everyone.